first pick of the draft.
Draw. 12. The number 12.
The number 12, the Toronto Maple Leafs have won the NHL Draft Lottery.
What happened? The hockey gods certainly were playing a role last night. Lucky number 12 for the Toronto Maple Leafs last night. They overcame the odds in a very big way to win the right to pick first in next month's NHL Draft. But now comes the hard part in many ways, deciding what to do with one of the most valuable assets in hockey. All right, for more on Lady Luck siding with the Leafs and really where the team goes from here, let's bring in John Viveiros, host of Hot Take Hockey. John, great to see you. Thank you so much. Welcome.
Thanks for having me. I never thought we'd be in this spot, but here we are.
Well, no kidding. I mean, going into last night, you kind of needed a degree in calculus to figure out all the variations and hypotheticals. In the end, they had an 8.5% chance of getting number one. Before we get started, I want to play your reaction because you recorded this live on your podcast. So get your reaction out of this. Take a look.
First overall! Oh my God! Oh my God!
All right, so clearly a level of disbelief. My goodness, what went through your mind when you heard that?
Yeah, you know what? I prepare for a lot of these lives for all different scenarios, and I thought in the back of my head, who knows? You never know. But I wasn't expecting it, as you can see, and I went a little crazy because before going, I was just kind of, let's roll repeat number 12, hoping for the crazy scenario, and of course it happened. I think for the Toronto Maple Leafs, this is a huge boost. So for me, the reaction after such a negative year and all the stuff that happened 24 hours prior to that with the interviews and the press conference and new management in place. But you know what, Anthony, that Matt Sundin smile cures all after that announcement. That was crazy.
No question about it. I mean, the number one pick is so big in so many different ways. Not all number one picks work out. We've seen it in the past. You know, Patrick Stefan, Nail Yakupov, of course. But many times they do. Connor McDavid, Austin Matthews, who could forget? I mean, so you look at this and how important this is for the Leafs, especially on the heels of this press conference this week when they introduced the new GM. I mean, how important is this team overall as it sort of looks to turn the page and so many unpredictables right now?
For sure. There's a lot of holes that are going to be still there, even with this draft selection, and I can go over what I want to happen here. I think everyone's going to point towards Gavin McKenna, and I think it's probably a natural fit because a year ago, Austin Matthews lost his line mate and kind of running mate for about a decade in Mitch Marner. So when you're talking about a playmaker and an all-time, I would say, franchise type player, that could be Gavin McKenna, and that could be next to Austin Matthews. So there's a lot of holes, Anthony. People keep talking about the defense. They wanted to see a Leafs draft pick for a defenseman this year, and I think maybe that's possible. But for me, you pick the best player available. You pick the franchise player when you're first overall, and then you worry about the other needs later. Because you go back to 2016 when the Leafs drafted Austin Matthews first overall, they had way more holes than they do now, and they made the playoffs that year. Sometimes that first overall pick can really skyrocket you into something you weren't expecting.
That's true, and it's an interesting factoid that when they picked Austin Matthews way back when, the draft was in Buffalo. This year, it's also in Buffalo, so perhaps, that's a good omen.
For sure. I think we should see more drafts in Buffalo going forward. But, joking aside, I know there's going to be a lot of conversations on how the Leafs, this fell in their lap. I'll just say two quick things. I liked how the NHL did it this year. Very open concept. Everybody saw the balls. Everybody saw the combinations. Everybody saw the ball that needed to take place there. So that's one. There was no logos. It was the number combinations, which I thought was cool. And two, this is only the third time the Leafs are drafting first overall. So I think when you talk about the history of the Toronto Maple Leafs, yeah, you know what? You can make the argument they're not the most deserving on the surface based on the other teams that were in contention, like the Vancouver Canucks. But I do look at the scenario for Gavin McKenna. If he is the guy selected, he's entering a situation where the Leafs are on a down, but he enters a situation where he can be comfortable playing with a guy like Austin Matthews, and it won't be like an adjustment period. He's playing with a guy that can score close to 60, 70 goals and put up those numbers. So I think that's a huge spot to get into.
Is a foregone conclusion that McKenna will be number one? Because we're talking about Ivar Stenberg. A lot of people are learning these names. He's from Sweden. Gavin McKenna, rather, is from Yukon. So are those pretty much 1-2?
I think they're 1-2, but what I said, Anthony, I think is accurate. I think the Toronto Maple Leafs prior to this draft lottery result were definitely looking at the defensemen in this draft, and I watched a few of the guys this year. Chase Reed played for the Sioux Greyhounds in the OHL. I watched him really closely this year. I think that's a franchise-altering type defenseman, but I think that's kind of the question mark that Leaf fans are having. Do you just go for the first overall pick, a guy that can put the point production? Like you see what Connor Bedard and Macklin Celebrini, these guys, the new age of NHL players, what they're doing for the Blackhawks and the Sharks, that could be Gavin McKenna with the Toronto Maple Leafs with his offensive ceiling. So I don't think you pass up on that. If there was a scenario where the Leafs could get additional assets, trade down to the 3rd or 4th spot and draft a Chase Reed, as I mentioned, or one of those up-and-coming defensemen, I think that's a conversation, but it's Gavin McKenna to me. Yeah. And I think when you get a guy that could potentially put up 90 to 100 points every season, I think you select that guy, Anthony. I think you just do it.
Yeah, especially when you lose guys like Mitch Marner. So it could determine the future of the franchise in a very big way. John, we appreciate this, as always, and good reaction. It was fun to watch. Good stuff. That is John Viveiros, the host of Hot Take Hockey. Thank you again.